Okay, so today on the show we have Ephraim Quay. He is a Melbourne-based photographer, and the fun fact that I have for you is that you never shoot Nikon. We'll definitely get into that, but I'm sure you're going to get a lot of hate from that.
Definitely a lot of hate. Yeah.
But it's all in good. It's all in good humor. Okay, everybody, all in good humor.
It's for a good reason, guys.
Yeah.
Trust me. All right.
Thank you for being on the show, and thank you for being for tuning in. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Let's get framed. So essentially, let's talk about you first. Tell me how you got into photography. We'll get into the Nikon stuff a little bit later, but tell me how you got into photography. What started off?
All right. So my journey actually began a long time ago when I was a kid and we went to go watch a movie for the first time.
Yeah.
In cinemas, and as a kid I was blown away by like what I was looking at. Like, this looks amazing. Like the camera work, the color.
Yeah.
It looked like I was looking at real life, but through a screen, a projector. So as a kid, I was like, this looks amazing. How do I do that?
Yeah.
And so I started learning everything I could through YouTube, and I realized that photography and filmmaking or videography is like, they're the same, they're just two different forms of the same art, right? And so because they're intrinsically related, I learned photography through that, and that's how it all started. Yeah.
So essentially videography and movies was your gateway drug into photography.
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah.
Thank you to all the videographers
Exactly,
out there. You know what, for me, honestly, I think it's about the same. And I think that most people probably can relate to that.
Yeah.
Because like when you're watching a movie, you're essentially seeing composition. You're seeing how, how to frame, how to do all that kind of stuff. And you're like, that's kind of cool. How do you get that? Camera.
Exactly.
And so you're like, oh, well, I want a camera.
Exactly,
and it can obviously do photos and videos. But the crazy thing is the technology that's like, is happening that's now. It's so incredible to see the difference from what, 10 years ago?
Back then everything was shot on exclusively film or ARRI cameras, and now we have movies shot on Sony mirrorless devices you can hold in your hands.
That's right.
So technology is incredible.
It's like you have no more excuse.
Exactly.
To not either.
Yeah. So every time I was watching The Creator recently.
Yeah.
And I was like, I have no excuse but to improve my work, because if they're able to shoot the same with the same quality cameras, but get tenfold better looking footage.
That's right.
And I've got some learning to
do. And I think we were talking about it earlier, and the color of was it The Creator?
Yeah.
Was like a modified version of a $5 LUT.
Yeah. So the director Gareth Edwards, they literally bought a $5 LUT, and they had their technicians just like modify it.
Right.
And then they just use film convert.
And now they're in the cinemas.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So really, for everybody watching, you have no more excuse to actually not try. You can't say, oh, I don't have a cinema camera. Can't shoot that. I mean, even iPhones nowadays, with ProRes RAW, you can buy like an iPhone 14, iPhone 15 Pro Max.
Yeah. Have you seen that new log stuff?
Oh, that's true.
The 15
that's right.
is log now.
That's true.
And apparently it's good, which is surprising.
So essentially, we have a 3-camera setup at the moment, but like what? I had an iPhone somewhere there and shoot log?
They probably wouldn't notice.
You probably wouldn't notice. It'll be something.
How do you know this is not shot on iPhone?
How do you know this is not iPhone?
Exactly.
For all we know, you're looking through an iPhone 15 Pro Max, shooting on log. Exactly. So there you go.
Not sponsored. Not sponsored. Sponsor us though.
Oh, let's talk about gear. Okay, we're gonna dive into Nikon soon, but okay, what do you currently shoot with?
So
why?
I'm also on full-frame Sony mirrorless bodies.
Okay.
So my main body is an A7S III.
Your main body is an A7S III.
It's actually the one right there.
Right there. That's an A7S III, yeah.
Yeah, and then I shoot A7 IV as well. So they're basically the same cameras, except the A7S III is just slightly better for video.
Yeah.
And
slightly. Come on, now you're pissing off the Sony
apart from the native ISOs, the A7 IV actually has slightly more dynamic range.
That's true. Yes,
because it oversamples, and so when it goes down to 4K,
yeah,
you get a bit more dynamic range because of the oversampling.
I guess the major difference and the major advantage is the second base ISO. On
12,000. You can see in the dark on these things
without noise.
Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So what made you shoot Sony? So for example, Sony. Did you shoot Sony throughout the entire thing?
So I'll begin. So my first ever camera.
Yeah.
My dad bought it for me. It was actually a Nikon Coolpix.
And this is where the Nikon story is coming in?
So this is the story.
The Coolpix Nikon. Oh, I remember the Coolpix Nikon.
So look, as a kid, I didn't really know much about photography, and obviously back then everyone would tell you to just buy a multi a lens changeable camera.
Yes.
Right. But
yeah.
I was like, I don't need that. I can just get a camera that zooms in as far as I want. Right. And it was a good camera at first. Don't get me wrong. I loved it. But one day it just stopped working. It just broke.
What do you mean? Like, is this the one that pops out the lens?
Yeah,
the
yeah.
lens
So
that
it
pops
has like
out?
a super optical zoom. Like
Yes.
I'm talking like you can zoom into the moon, get like you can see the craters and everything. It was amazing.
Was it actually that good?
Well, the image quality, I would say it's like what like a Pixel or an iPhone sees right now.
Wow.
But not the log, not the new iPhone 15 log
No,
stuff,
no.
like
Yeah, yeah.
like the crappier phone stuff. But the
Wow.
difference is that it had an optical zoom of like 60 times or something.
I think that was like the main selling point back
it
in
was the
cameras
main
like
selling.
the
It was
10
like
years
it
ago.
was like a point and shoot camera,
Yeah.
but on steroids. And
That's right.
I think that was the point of it. The problem though I had was that it just stopped working one day.
So is that why you hate Nikon?
So I went to the camera store with
Not
my
hate,
dad.
but
Yeah. No, it's just I don't think I'll ever go back to Nikon now that I'm in the stage of life where I have a good system to use. It's just that when I was a kid, we went back to the camera store and we asked what the heck happened,
Yeah.
and they were like, unfortunately, there's no Nikon centers here, so we can't get it repaired. We can just offer you a refund. And
Right.
my dad was like, okay, we can get you like something else here. And I looked at the store and I saw a Canon APS-C DSLR. I think it was a 700D, something like that.
okay, okay.
It was 18 megapixel, but it didn't come with a lens. I was like,
Yeah.
screw it. I'll just work, save money, buy a lens. But
Yep,
for
yep.
now, I'm just going to have a non-lens camera. And that was a Canon. And I have never looked back. And because Nikon, they backstabbed
Until you
me.
went Sony, of course.
Until
Yeah.
eventually. I love that Canon DSLR,
Yeah.
by the way. Look, back then, I was also on the bandwagon where I was like, oh my gosh, the 5D.
Yeah.
The best cameras in the world.
Yeah.
Every wedding photographer uses these. But times have changed and everything's mirrorless now. And
That's true.
I shot even some professional work on that crop sensor Canon.
Right.
If you know how to use your camera well, you can pretty much do almost anything.
No, that's true. I think the
Yeah.
misconception, the major misconception when it comes to photography is that you need the best gear.
Yeah.
No, you don't. I honestly, and I'm making this up in terms of the numbers, but like majority of good photographs is light, composition,
Exactly.
and like just the feeling or what's happening in the photo.
Yep.
Right. And you could have like a $15,000 set, a kit, and you still have lifeless, dull images
Yeah.
because you just don't know how to utilize light.
And for anyone watching who doesn't know much about photography, do not get fooled by megapixel numbers.
That's true.
This camera
No.
is 12 megapixels.
That's right.
The old ARRI cameras that almost all of the Marvel and big films were only like 8 megapixels.
That's right.
Because they literally only shot 2K.
Yeah.
So don't get fooled by megapixels, guys.
And it's like it's the size of the pixels that matter because
Exactly, yeah.
this is where size matters in some ways. But you know, like it's higher megapixels, meaning you have to squish more pixels on a smaller, same size rectangle. And so when you have a higher megapixel camera, it's great if you want that resolution.
Exactly.
But the trade-off is its ability to have, I guess, less noise
Yeah.
per pixel.
Exactly.
So that's why really clean ones, like for example the A7S, they are less megapixels, but they're far bigger in size, so that it has less noise.
Yeah.
That's the simpler,
Pretty much.
explanation.
Just
of
more
that.
surface area, more light, etc.
That's right.
So yeah, to continue my story, I shot with that for a while, and I thought it's finally time to upgrade to a new system.
Yeah.
I wanted reliable autofocus. Believe it or not, Canon crop DSLRs don't have reliable autofocus.
When was this? What year is this?
I think I upgraded to Sony in about like 2020.
That's not as long as I was actually thinking. It's
Yeah.
pretty recent.
Yeah, it's recent. Yeah.
I mean, what the A7, the first A7 came out in like what 2014.
something like that. Yeah.
So you'd probably be looking at what 2020 is like what A7 III, A7 III maybe.
Yeah.
That generation.
yeah.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure
and,
the first A1 came out in 2022.
Yeah, and then I was like, I really like Sigma glass. That's like one of my favorite brands for
Why?
lenses. I just think they produce high quality optics and build quality and the look. But
I know what you're
without-
talking about
But
though.
without the premium Sony, Canon, Nikon price, right?
Yeah.
And well, Canon literally doesn't want third-party lenses on their mirrorless bodies.
Yeah.
And well,
Apparently they're
Nikon,
talking though.
Apparently they're talking.
Apparently they're talking to other manufacturers.
They
to,
better.
to
'Cause
make
it's-
actual third-party lenses.
It's ridiculous. I think they released a cease and desist to Viltrox for producing.
Yeah, that's right. I remember
Yeah,
that.
yeah. I'm like, are you serious right now? I don't know. But Sony allows third-party lenses.
Yeah.
And Furthermore, the A7S was just a legendary camera lineup. When the
that's
first
true.
one came out, I remember watching it on like all these YouTubers talking about it. Like this thing was the low light king. It shot, and
Yeah.
even though it was full HD, it had a look, a nice film cinematic look, and that's because of that full frame sensor
Yeah.
and the way they chose the right elements for video, right?
Look, I'm gonna talk back. Let's wind back to the Sigma lens. You know, I'll be honest. When I had a Sigma, the art lens 24 to 70
Yeah,
on the Sony, it did have a look that I really liked from it. It was, I don't know how to explain it, but it's Sigma lenses to me, to my eye anyways, has a very nice contrast.
yeah.
The color is a little bit oversaturated. I would probably, not oversaturated, that's not the right word, but it's more saturated than Sony lenses. Sony lenses, I feel, they kind of go for this clinical, clean look.
Yeah,
Very
definitely.
clinical, very accurate, very almost lifelike, if you want
Yeah.
to call it that. But is it bad? No, it's not. It's just, it's a different profile.
just a
for
different look,
things.
yeah.
Similar to Tamron. I mean, if you really want to go, I guess, on the cheaper end, Tamron's a great brand.
They
you
do
know?
make good lenses.
Great lenses.
I think
for the
they're
price.
28 to 75 is probably one of the most, it was the highest selling lens,
Yeah,
I think a year ago.
yeah.
So that was a huge, like, it was just really good because everyone wants a standard zoom at 2.8.
That's right. Yeah.
And the
Versatile. You
and
can
it was
walk around
either
with
the Tamron or the Sigma. And well, this Sigma actually didn't come out yet. This one, I have a 28 to 70 from Sigma.
Yeah.
It's the smallest and lightest 2.8 full frame lens.
Yeah.
That has the same performance as the 24 to 70,
Mm.
just without the 4mm, and it's like $500 cheaper or something like
That's
that.
actually a pretty good deal.
Which is really nice. And 28mm is actually a really nice focal length.
Yeah.
So.
And that's the great thing about the Sony E-mount
Exactly.
is
yeah.
that you have the capability by the Sony lenses all the way through different brands. Like I even had like TT Artisan.
Yeah,
Have you
yeah,
seen
yeah.
their like
I love.
F09?
I really want to
Holy
get some of
crap.
that stuff. They released like a 500mm 6.3
Yeah.
recently, prime lens. It's crazy,
Wow.
and it's only like $500.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's go back to actually talking about you because we talk about gear. We could
We
talk
talked
about
about
gear.
gear.
Like
We could talk about gear all day, and this episode would be like 2 hours long. I don't think people want that.
no, who knows? Maybe if you do, chuck it in the comments.
So yeah, to
comment
finish
box
off
if you like.
the gear journey, I guess, to
Yeah.
just cut it off, I switched to Sony, and I've been shooting weddings and portraits and videos ever since with the same system. Yeah.
That's a good segue into let's look at some of your photos.
All right, yeah.
So essentially, for every guest of the show, we ask them to bring 3 photos. Okay, the first photos is a photo that resembles your creative essence. The second is a photo that they're most proud of, and the third is a photo that was the most challenging to create. So essentially, let's talk about the first photo that you submitted here. Why was this image? Why does this image resemble your creative essence?
Right. So, like straight after I like sort of got into filmmaking and photography,
Yeah.
I immediately thought, because I was a space nerd growing up, and I still am. I'm an engineering student.
Ah.
I'm really into physics,
Yeah.
and one of the biggest things has always been into is just astrophysics, right?
Right. Right.
And so the stars have always fascinated me. And so to me, I think one of the most beautiful and sort of like profound and amazing looking landscapes, or what humans can see, is the Milky Way.
Mm-hmm.
And so quickly, I was just super obsessed with astrophotography.
Right.
And I've had my hand in it a couple times, but I mean, only recently I've been able to travel. So I do want to still travel and find some really nice locations to shoot the Milky Way and stuff. But yeah, so I have a love for astrophotography. I
Yeah.
love looking at the stars. The night landscapes have just always been something fascinating to me.
Mm.
And another thing that I've always just been fascinated by is just landscapes in general, like the cities. I live in Melbourne. Melbourne's a really nice city. If you ever come down Melbourne, best cafes in the world and coffee.
That's true.
I think.
That's actually true.
yeah.
I mean,
And
we are poor. People in Melbourne are poor because we got good coffee.
yeah.
And never buy coffee because it's literally the highest markup you can possibly
Yeah,
get.
yeah,
But, you
like
know.
a cup of coffee is like $9 nowadays. Something like that, yeah.
That's
If you learn how
the
to make your own
specialty.
coffee though, yeah, you can save.
You can say for you. That's the problem with millennials, and this problem with the younger generation. They buy too much coffee.
They do, yeah.
Right.
Starbucks costs like,
Don't buy coffee, get a house. You know, like it's a
save money, cook your own food, guys.
cook your own
Cook
food.
I
Yeah.
love cooking. It's one of my hobbies.
Except for when you're cooking like a dish that you're not aware that you've never cooked before. because you could either pay somebody $20 to get it, or you pay $50 for the
No, I
ingredients.
still think it's a valuable thing to still go to restaurants. I love restaurants.
Yeah, I love restaurants
right?
too.
But there's always a part of me, because of my mom, she taught me cooking. There's always a part of me like, how do I make that?
Yeah.
It's the same thing with photography. It's like, how do I do that?
Yeah.
So there's just a curiosity in me.
Yeah.
And so going back to the question,
That's right.
I love combining city photography and other things, or just mixing landscapes. And so
Yeah.
I've learned Photoshop, and that photo is like a composite of a Milky Way photo that I took and a photo of the Docklands in the city. And it just looks, I think it's like
It looks incredible. I mean, okay, so what did you end up using? What app did you use, or did you trace this? Because the cutouts are quite nice.
So the way you do it is you don't actually do a sky. So a lot of people do sky replacements to swap out skies, but here it's a lot more simpler. So believe it or not, that photo of the city was actually shot during daylight, but it was towards like sunset.
Okay, yeah, I see the lighting on that on that building.
So
Okay.
what you can do is, and if you guys are interested, I'll probably leave a tutorial somewhere.
Yeah.
But basically, you can mask out the sky based on the color and the gradient of the sky,
Right. Okay.
which lets you mask it with a different image.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
And so that's what I use to achieve the Milky Way effect.
I mean, essentially, you're using the light,
Exactly.
the sunset light,
Yeah.
to kind of have like that differentiation and contrast between
It's
the
very
buildings
hard
and
to make a daylight landscape look like nighttime with editing. It's much easier if you capture something as if you want it to be in editing. So I
Right.
shot this towards sunset, and then I color graded it and darkened it to make it look like nighttime.
Yeah.
I masked in the Milky Way, added some effects, and yeah, and I love to do that. It's a new series on my Instagram.
Yeah.
I call it "What if the world had 0% light pollution?" And so what
That's
I do
true.
is I go through different landscapes throughout my travels,
Yeah.
and I edit them to make it look like there was 0% light pollution, which is the reason why we can't see like the Milky Way in our
Yeah, that's
neighborhoods
true,
and
because
cities.
the light pollution.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you'd have to travel so far nowadays just to see the stars. And
Yeah.
I just like to bring the magic back.
No,
That's my
it's
creative.
incredible. I really do like this. Now, did you go into so much detail as to make sure that the stars that you see is the accurate stars for that area, or not really?
I was thinking that. I was thinking, do I follow what the actual actual
That's
location of the
right,
Milky
yes.
Way? Because there are apps you can use
Yes,
to like
that's right, yeah.
check. But I didn't. I just
Okay.
used what I thought would look natural.
That's good. It's an
Yeah.
artistic journey. It's an
Exactly,
artistic
yeah, yeah,
expression.
yeah.
So that's cool. I just wondered, because I'm like, all right, how much brain power did you put
Yeah.
on the whole where's the
Yeah, yeah,
city
yeah.
located? Which direction am I
Yeah.
pointing at? That kind of stuff. But no, it looks amazing as it is.
Thank
So
you, I appreciate it,
that's
yeah.
freaking cool. Now the second photo. I want to know, because you sent this, and this was supposed to be a photo that you are most proud of, right?
Yeah.
Tell me more about this one. Why are you most proud of this one?
So this photo it's quite a significant photo to me, and that's why it's the one I'm proudest of the most. It's a
Right.
photo. It's a portrait of my friend Simon. About in 2019, no 2020, me and my boys went on a road trip.
Oh, the
And
boys.
the boys.
the
We
boys.
just stayed at an Airbnb that we hired together. And my friend Simon was there with us, and we went to the Great Ocean Road,
Yeah.
and I took that photo of him.
This was the
and-
Great Ocean Road?
Yeah. And I mean, you can't tell, it's just a photo of his face, really.
Yeah.
But fast forward a couple years, and recently he passed away due to a car accident. And so I kind of like, in that moment, at first I didn't believe it. You know, I think losing someone that you not only were friends with, but someone you actually knew,
Yeah.
you know, it's, he was my age. He was only 22, 21, I think. And he just like that, he's gone. And to this day, I still don't believe it. It feels weird. It feels surreal. But that photo was probably the most used photo that we remember him by now. And his family used it at the funeral and everything. And I don't know, I guess this is the reason why I became a photographer in the first place.
Yeah.
You know, photography is an important art because it's the only art that allows us to capture memories in the way that we saw them. You know, I mean, painting is obviously good in drawings. So the point is that we do this because we want to preserve memories.
That's right.
And having that photo of him that his family loves and remembers him by is something that I am forever honored by. And that's why it's my most proud.
And just imagine, like, I understand that, especially at the time where I guess, you found out,
Yeah.
right? It's like, imagine if you didn't take this photo.
Yeah.
Imagine if you did not snap that shutter.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, you wouldn't have this.
And the truth is, I wouldn't want anyone to think, oh, this might be the last photo I'd ever take of someone.
And that is,
ever.
but that's true though.
But you never know, and yeah.
No, that's honestly, I know it's probably, it resounds to a lot of people, and it's a very terrible situation. But that's honestly one of the reasons for why I became a photographer too.
Yeah.
On my website, I was trying to figure out how to explain what I do. And really, it's at the end of it is that every moment is a point in time that you cannot relive.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
And if I don't hit that shutter,
Beautifully said.
there's nothing that I can do to get that moment back.
Yeah.
So it's so powerful what we do, because this is why. And now everybody, you know, all the people who love, what was your friend Simon?
Simon.
Your friend Simon, they remember him with this, and it strikes a very strong emotion, one of love, one of, you know, of I mean, some people grieving still.
Yeah. I mean, I it's not a day passes that I don't think about him a little bit.
No, that's incredible.
Yeah. And yeah, that's why it's probably my greatest photo. There's nothing, if you look at the photo, there's nothing crazy about it. It's just a standard photo. He's sort of just in the moment, enjoying it. He was a huge goofball, and that's why we all loved him.
But look, the power of a photograph is not, honestly, it's not the fancy. It's not. Like, well, if you look at that, dude, you look at any other photo, right? You look at any other photo, and this is more powerful than most of them.
I mean, yeah, the most influential photos of all time weren't 30-second time-lapse star trail photos or like multi-billion-dollar flashes. It's like think like political events, like war events, documentary photography, portraits of the most important people. Like, you know, these are the most, I guess, influential photos of all time. I think the most influential of all time was that photo of, was it Neil Armstrong or Buzz Aldrin on the moon?
Yes.
I think that's one of the most distributed images of all time.
Yeah.
It's just, there's nothing like it.
No, we're not even saying, we're not even suggesting that any other art forms are less.
No, not at all.
We're not even saying that. What we're saying is that this is why we're passionate about this art.
Exactly.
And it's not about, you know, it's not saying, and I know that there's going to be trolls on the internet saying, oh, but star photography is freaking fantastic. We're not even saying that it's not.
It is fantastic.
I'm saying it's fantastic. But what I'm saying is that at its core, the reason why photographs are so powerful is because of the meaning, it's because of the people, it's because of the environment that it's in, to remember that point in time.
Yeah.
So it's, you know, that's I think that's the point of what we're trying to make here. Thank you for sharing this one. This is absolutely fantastic.
If I have any opportunity I get to talk about Simon, definitely.
I love, you know, I'm just looking at it. I honestly love the way that you've, I guess, developed it. I love the grain. I love kind of like, it almost has a very film-like quality.
Definitely, I probably added. I mean, this is shot on that Canon DSLR, by the way.
Ah, yes. You look at that.
Look at that. One of the best photos I've ever taken. The most important to me was shot on that $500 crop sensor Canon. You know, so it's really.
No live view. Everything was on the
right time. Yeah, no, just good old viewfinder.
Good old viewfinder metering.
Yeah, and it's crazy because we use mirrorless now. We forget that in the past it's a literal live view through a mirror. Nowadays it's just a
actual real
live view. Now it's just a projection of the same thing on the sensor. So.
I remember my first camera, like my first real camera, was an Olympus OMD EM5.
Oh yeah.
Back in 2014, I think 2013, 2014, right? And when I was showing my dad how it's got live view, where, you know, you can actually see your exposure.
Yeah.
When you stop down and turn up your shutter speed and all that, it's like, is that what it's gonna take?
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, wow.
Yeah, because even back then, right, you'd have actually another camera on the side for like the smaller cameras that don't have a mirror.
Yeah.
So the image will be slightly different in like location and perspective as well.
Yeah.
So yeah. Technology, amazing.
And now everyone's like, oh yeah, mirrorless.
Mirrorless.
Live preview. You know, no problem.
No problem.
You know, and people are like, photography is still hard.
It's not, man. It's so hard to make mistakes in these cameras. Like, you could shoot 3 stops overexposed, and you could still recover skin
because of RAW.
Don't ever do that. But It's so hard to make
Yeah.
mistakes nowadays.
But
yeah.
what I'm trying to say, everybody, is not that, it's not a jab on anyone
No, yeah,
who's
yeah.
having difficulty in photography. Like, I would say the difficulty comes from understanding what your niche is,
Exactly.
right? Because
Yeah.
anybody can take a photograph now. The equipment is very, I guess, accessible. So the entry to photography is very easy. That's what I'm saying.
Agreed.
But the mastery of it, now that's a little bit of a
That
different
takes
story.
time.
That
That
takes
takes
time.
time.
That's where you find your own. That's your
Yeah.
style. My style, very kind of almost fairy tale like. It's actually kind of funny. Can I tell you the story real quick?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
So when
Sure.
when I was taking photographs and I would edit the same way that I would normally edit, and I show people, hey, this is my portfolio. They're like, hey, you know what? This is very fairy tale like. You shoot very kind of fairy tale like, and I'm like, no, I don't shoot fairy tale like. There's no way. I shoot like good
Gangster pro photos, not fairy tale.
Not even pro photos. It's more like, no, I wouldn't describe it as fairy tale, right?
Yeah.
And then it was about 2 years ago when I was looking at it, and I did an image for, well, I did a session with a couple getting married,
Yep.
and I was snapping, and then I was back at home editing, and it hit me. I like, dude, Nathan, you can't deny this anymore. It looks like a freaking.
I mean, when I
it
look
looks
at
like
your
very-
photos on your Instagram, they're very.
Okay, can you tell me? You've seen them.
Yeah.
Would you agree to that statement?
I think fairy tale is a childish term. I would use whimsical.
Wait,
Yeah.
are you-
I would say whimsical photography because it's very dreamlike, very.
yeah, okay.
um,
That's what people
It's a bit
tell-
fairy tale. Yeah.
It's a bit fairy tale. So
Yeah.
you would agree with that?
I would agree. Yeah, I would agree. But it's not a. It's,
I was in
it's
denial for so many.
But would you say now that you've like accepted
now-
it and you're proud of it?
Now that I've accepted it, I actually love it.
Yeah.
And to emphasize how much I love it, I actually have on every single one of my lenses I have mist filters because it
Yeah.
allows me to achieve that fairy tale like quality, right? You get that soft blooming, kind of dreamlike, not too harsh, but enough to kind of, when you have a bloom straight to the camera, you get like a bit of
Exactly,
bloom on the outside of a person, right? So yeah, it was a tough pill to swallow, but I shoot fairy tales.
For me, I don't think I've had anyone comment on my style per
Yeah.
se. They would just say, "Oh wow, this looks a lot like this," or looks like that, and I've
What-
never
what
had
did
the
they-
same answer.
What would they describe
So,
it as?
I would say that I don't know. I think I don't have a distinct style. I just sort of get inspired and shoot and
okay.
achieve a certain look that I want to get.
Yeah.
So some shots I really wanted to look like nature vogue fashion model kind of thing, which I do with some friends.
Yeah.
And other portraits, but other ones I'm more like I want more classic wedding like sort of like flash on photography.
Yeah.
And some usually I just go by what my clients want. So I always ask all my clients, send me a couple photos of what you think looks great,
Yeah.
and then I will definitely apply that style to your photos.
Yeah.
And then for some, and I think this is a person, if I had to choose a style, I think mine would be like, I want my photos to look like they were almost like a frame out of a movie. Like
True. True. I like that too.
like imagine like a Christopher Nolan still from like The Dark Knight, for example.
Yeah.
Or like just a nice quality cinematic still.
Yeah.
That's what like I love that look
Yeah.
so much.
No.
And it's
agree.
it's a good mixture of everything. It's a mixture of like creative composition, vintage film,
Yep.
but like high resolution kind
Right.
of look, right? So
Mhm.
I love
It's
lens
that
flares.
blended. Yeah.
So that's like one thing that's definitely a giveaway.
Yeah.
I know a lot of photographers like to talk about how this lens produces too much lens flare. I heckin' love lens flare. Like,
Me too.
I'm like Michael Bay, but worse.
Yeah.
Like trust me, like I think people would hate me if I was a movie director.
Yeah.
Because they'd be like, I'm blind, I can't see anything. Because there's a lens flare in every shot. That's me. Definitely me.
There's a character sleeping on their bed, looking at the camera. There's a lens flare coming in from like the side lamp
Yeah,
or
yeah.
something, and then their phone is throwing out lens flare
Yeah.
as well. That's funny
Yeah.
as dude. All right, so moving to the last image that you sent to me. Okay, it's a wedding portrait. Now tell me, why was this so difficult? Why was it, what challenged you? In this
So
one?
this image, the actual taking of that image wasn't challenging. It was just like any other photo.
Yeah.
It's a wedding day.
Yeah.
You're tired, you're planning, you have to coordinate with your clients. Your mouth is dry because you've talked the whole day directing your clients and everything,
Yeah.
your wedding guests. But what's challenging about that photo was that this was probably this was the first wedding that I shot.
Yeah.
And so going from someone who is only 21 to not knowing a single damn thing about business and marketing and networking,
Yeah.
the only thing I knew was cameras. So how do I turn myself into someone who would get paid a premium to shoot the most happiest, important day of their lives?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, like who the heck would trust a random 21-year-old? Hey, I don't have any weddings on my portfolio. Let me shoot your wedding. It's
No, I get that.
so so I had to go from not knowing anything to learning everything basically myself, and with the help of the internet. My dad is a bit of a businessman himself, so he taught me a couple things along the way. I have to give credit where it's due, right? But a lot of the things were self-taught, and this image represents to me the biggest step is getting that first client and loving the results that you got. And that photo right there is just one of the portraits, one of the many portraits that I loved from that wedding. And it just captures the emotion in the day, you know?
So the difficulty really was not just concretely specific to the photo. It's about everything that revolves around it.
It's not difficult in a sense like I had to like hang upside down on a rope in the middle of like a gaping canyon and capture this amazing shot with a horse jumping over it.
I mean, that's difficult too.
That's insanely
if that's
difficult.
kind of what you have to do.
But yeah, if I ever get that would be my most difficult photo. But this was challenging because it represents my journey from hobbyist to professional.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's why it's the most challenging photo that I've ever taken.
No, that's true. And I guess the good thing about it is, especially hearing you talk about, you know, when you did your first wedding shoot, it was like, okay, it was like a transition almost from amateur to professional.
Yeah.
Because it was like, okay, now it's real, right?
Exactly.
Now I can actually screw up and have somebody angry at me, right?
Yeah.
And the crazy thing is that, you know, part of, if you have the eye for photography, just if you love photography, the transition in my head is simpler than what most people think it is.
Yeah.
Because getting someone to pay you to do something, as long as you know how to take great photos, emotive photos, there's no difference between being an amateur and being a professional. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, if you can see and people are complimenting you, hey, you take great photos. Your transition from amateur to professional, much simpler than if someone, you know, who
just picked up a camera
and just snap, and then it's like iPhone is, you know, like, you know what I mean?
I think that's the, okay, so I'm active in a lot of like online and like groups and like clubs about photography, and I tend to teach a lot of people, not just about the technical part of photography, but how to just be a photographer as a whole. And the number one question I probably always get asked is, how do I start making money in photography? Which, spoiler, it's not the right question you should be asking, because it's the same logic as picking up a hammer and being like, how do I stop being a carpenter?
That's right.
It's not really about the tool, it's about, I guess, the job and the business side and what it really means to be a photographer.
Yeah.
I believe anyone can be a good photographer. You just need to know the right steps, which is why I'm more than happy to help anyone who's asking for help, kind of thing.
Definitely.
But yeah.
So, we're nearly at the very end. What's next for you? We talked a lot about the stuff. We've hated on Nikon. We've
I would
switched
say
from Canon.
I've lost trust. I've just lost trust in Nikon for valid reasons, I would say, you know?
Hey, look, I'm sure my wife has got a Nikon FZ
Oh.
and a Nikon FC. It's pretty cool.
It's not,
I mean, you should try Nikon.
No, I mean, look, modern cameras are great. And the new Nikon Z8 and 9 are insane cameras.
Is it ZF, I think? I don't even know.
Okay, so the Z8 is like their full frame flagship.
Right.
And then the Z9 is the even bigger version.
Yeah.
It's a technical masterpiece. It's a beast, don't get me wrong. There's good, I reckon if you spend money, you can find a good camera in any system.
Yes,
right?
of course.
Panasonic, Nikon,
every
Canon,
system
Sony,
is
Fuji.
really good.
Exactly.
Currently.
The GFX is amazing.
Yeah.
You know, it's just about finding the right tool for you.
That's right.
And Nikon is not the right tool for me. Unfortunately, I've just went with the Sony bandwagon.
I'm sure you're going to start getting phone calls from Nikon reps, and they'll be like, hey, you know what? We have this Nikon thing coming up. You should come try it out.
You know what? Let me change your mind. I'll send you a free camera. That's the dream, guys. That's the dream.
I don't shoot Nikon. Change my mind.
Sponsor this channel. Sponsor it right now. I mean,
that's
Rode
funny.
mics, Sony camera sponsors.
Okay.
So my next journey. So right now, I just want to grow my wedding business to the point where I could call it a full-time job. I mean, right now I'm 21, I'm still a second-year engineering student. And so my priorities are to end up in a position where I can work and be able to pay and live comfortably for my future family, doing something that I love.
That's the dream.
That's the dream. I think my philosophy with purchasing equipment and business expenses is that I don't need to get the most highest end of everything. If it does the job and it's of high quality, I'll take it, you know? For example, I don't think I would ever see myself buying a Sony G Master lens.
Oh,
because
I got I got 3 G
no,
Masters.
these are great lenses. The thing is, I see like third-party competitive options from Sigma, Tamron, and even other brands like Viltrox.
Yeah.
It's even TT Artisans. I don't know how to pronounce their name.
I don't know. That's how I say it. TT Artisan.
They offer such good competition at such a lower price. I don't really see the point. It's
that's right.
It's like the same
100%.
if you gave me if I suddenly was Bill Gates and had billions of dollars in my card, I wouldn't go and buy the most expensive house in the cars, believe it or not. I would just buy a nice, comfortable house and a good car.
And fill it with red cameras and Aries.
Maybe I'd get like one. It's a business. You know, there are people who own ARRI cameras, like 250 grand cameras.
Yeah.
But their business is that they rent it out.
That's true.
That's
that's right.
It's
you make
like
money out of it.
investment.
Yeah, that's right.
Exactly,
It's actually an investment. We know the definition of investment.
Exactly.
It's a thing that makes you more money, right?
Exactly.
So yeah. Oh, okay.
That was my recent justification of buying a drone.
Oh yes. Oh, you bought a drone.
Yeah, I got the DJI Mini 3 Pro.
That's actually a good drone. It's like, let's be honest. I mean, the 4 just came out, but it's a good drone.
It's
a very
so
good drone.
small. But obviously I've seen so many YouTube videos on it. But when you hold it in your hands, it's actually ridiculous how small and light it is.
It's 249 grams?
249.
Yeah.
With the regular battery.
Yeah, that's right.
And I was just like, this thing shoots 4K 10-bit.
Right.
It's like, technology is incredible.
No, 100%.
Yeah. So that's my journey. I want to pursue weddings.
Yeah.
And grow that, and as well as portraits. But the thing is, I'm open to anything. And I guess my end game goal would be to return to cinematography.
Yeah.
Because I started with loving film and cinema.
Yeah.
And I'm now going through this journey of photography and videography and commercial videography and stuff. I want to one day be on the set of a big film, maybe even be a DP for a huge blockbuster. It doesn't even have to be huge. I just want to shoot amazing looking content that makes people go, wow, how did they do that?
Low key, I've always wanted to also help out on a big set.
It would be so cool.
That would be so cool.
It would be so cool.
Long hours, but
I don't even care if I'm like an extra. I buy people, I get people's coffees. You know?
Just be on a film set where you can see things blowing up and all that.
Exactly,
and I'm like, whoa, that's cool.
I want to see like director. I want to see like Christopher Nolan yelling at the front to the actors with his British accent.
I'll hold his coffee.
Yeah, and it'll be just amazing.
Mr. Nolan.
Exactly.
Your latte is getting cold.
Would you like me to get a new one?
Would you like? And then we'll go to the assistant of it. Hey, Mr. Nolan needs a better coffee.
Exactly. Yeah. But just I don't know, man. Like I want to be surrounded by brilliant people.
Yeah.
That's my goal of engineering as well. I think photography is a huge passion of mine, but what really interests me the most, like at the very core, is technology. And so I'm doing electrical engineering. I want to use photography and videography to my advantage when it comes to that time where I want to pursue my own engineering projects or work in an engineering team kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, 100%.
And having photography as a side hustle is so flexible.
Yeah.
And I encourage everyone to get a side hustle. Obviously, easier said than done.
Yeah.
But something that I'm good at and it could potentially make me money. I said, sign me up. And
100%.
now I'm here.
Oh, that's great.
Only looking forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Final thoughts. This is open to you. What do you want to say?
Sponsor us. No, I think
if this episode blows up or
final
something.
Thoughts.
Maybe.
I've always just wanted to be on a kind of like a talk show thing, and Mathan here, first time doing any sort of like hosting, I would assume.
Yeah, look, first time hosting. I'm like online, of course, but like I've spoken up in public speaking and all that for jobs before. So
amazing, yeah. Well, fantastic, amazing hosts, and love this set, by the way. It's just a backyard.
It's a backyard,
but it's beautiful. It's I don't know. For me, simpler the better.
Thank you. Hey, thank you so much for being on the show. If you are a Melbourne photographer and you want to join the show, right? then hit me up on the website, well, on the comments, and then I'll send you my details and we can talk. But if you love this episode, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. There's more to come. Thank you so much for watching Framed. See you later.